In the deep silence of space, a small ship floated near the edge of the galaxy. The pilot was alone. His name was Rai. Rai was not a hero. He was just a skilled pilot who carried cargo from one planet to another. He had no crew, no friends, and no mission today. Just silence. Inside the ship, Rai sat in the cockpit. His eyes were half closed. He was tired. A warm drink in his hand and old music played softly in the background. Suddenly, the music stopped. A strange signal appeared on the screen. It was weak, broken, like a whisper from far away. Unknown frequency, the ship's AI said. Source, Dead Zone 7. No colonies. No known life. Rai sat up. A dead zone. Nothing should be there, but the signal played again. It sounded like a voice, a soft, high-pitched voice, a child. He leaned forward. That doesn't sound like a machine, he muttered. He opened the map. The signal came from a nearby moon, small, dark and cold. Nobody lived there, no lights, no heat. Just silence. Rai paused. He could ignore it, but something inside him, something small but strong, told him to check. With a sigh, he turned the ship. Minutes later, Rai's ship landed on the rocky surface of the moon. The place looked dead. No wind, no movement, just black rocks and a gray sky. He put on his helmet and stepped out. The signal was close now. His scanner beeped faster with every step. Behind a broken rock he saw a crashed escape pod. Its metal was burned. The door was cracked but sealed. Strange symbols were painted on the side. He didn't recognize the language. He touched the surface. Cold, very cold. The scanner beeped louder. Life inside. He pulled out his tool and carefully opened the pod. With a soft hiss, the door opened. Inside was a small alien child. It was no bigger than a human baby. Its skin was light blue. Its eyes were too large, glowing softly in the dark. It looked weak, tired, scared. The child blinked at him. Rai froze. "What are you?" he whispered. The child didn't speak, just looked at him. Its hands shook. Its stomach made a soft sound. Hunger. Rai looked around. No food, no water. He pulled out a food pack and opened it. Slowly he offered it. The alien took it with both hands and began to eat fast. Poor thing, starving. Rai sat back. "How long have you been here?" No answer. Just then, a loud alarm rang in his helmet. Danger detected. His ship's systems had picked up an energy pulse from the pod. What the? He stopped. On the screen of his wrist device, he saw a new signal had been sent out from the pod. A beacon, a message. Someone, or something, now knew the pod had been found, back in space. Red lights blinked on a distant warship. A dark figure turned to his crew. "We found it. Go now." Rai didn't know what was coming, but he felt it. He looked at the child again. Its eyes met his. Something passed between them. A quiet message, not in words, but he understood the child was in danger, and now so was he. He picked the alien up gently. It didn't resist. It was too tired. He ran back to the ship. "AI prep launch," he shouted. "Warning," the AI replied. "Unknown object detected. Identity unclassified alien lifeform." "Yeah, I know," Rai said. "Just get us out of here." The engines roared. The ship lifted off just as a shadow passed over the moon. A hunter's ship, black and silent. Inside Rai's ship, he sat in the pilot's seat, breathing hard. The alien child sat beside him, wrapped in a soft blanket. The child looked at Rai slowly. It reached out and touched his hand. Rai didn't move. For the first time in years, he felt something. He didn't know why he saved this child. He didn't even know what it was, but something told him this was just the beginning, and far, far away. Others had already started hunting. The stars stretched like silver lines as Rai's ship flew through space faster than light. His hands gripped the controls tightly. Eyes on the radar, mind racing behind him. 3 red enemy ships appeared. They had found the signal. The same signal the alien pod sent when Rai opened it. The same signal that now put them both in danger. Rai turned to the small alien sitting beside him, wrapped in a thermal blanket. The child stared at the stars through the window. His large glowing eyes were calm but too quiet. Rai had no idea who or what this child was. Only that he was important enough for someone to chase them across galaxies, important enough to kill for his ship. AI spoke in a calm voice, even during danger alert. 3 ships following, distance closing. Estimated contact in 90 seconds. Took a deep breath. He flipped a few switches and spoke to himself like he always did when things got bad. 90 seconds, plenty of time to do something crazy. He pulled the ship hard to the left, diving into a dense asteroid field. The stars disappeared as thousands of rocks filled the view, big, small, fast moving in all directions. His AI protested, warning, unsafe path. Detected collision risks at 73%. "Yeah, thanks," Rai replied sarcastically, already moving through the field behind him. The red ships entered to their designs, sharper and darker, their lights pulsing like hunting eyes. Rai flew like a ghost, dodging spinning stones and ice chunks. His ship was small but fast and nimble. He had flown worse before, but this time he wasn't alone. He glanced back, the child still silent, but his eyes now glowing brighter. A soft hum filled the cockpit, low and strange. "What's that?" Rai asked, not expecting an answer. The child looked at him, then slowly raised a small hand pointing at the radar. Rai looked. The enemy ships were close to close. One of them fired. A bright laser cut through space and missed Rai's ship by inches. The hum grew louder. The child closed his eyes, and then the strangest thing happened. One of the large asteroids moved. On its own, spinning fast, then faster, then turning sharply like it had a mind of its own. It hit one of the enemy ships directly. A silent explosion spread across the dark field. The ship was gone. Rai's eyes widened. Was that luck, or did the child do something he didn't ask? Not yet. He just flew faster to more ships. Now the radio crackled. A voice came through, deep and cold. Unknown pilot, you have something that does not belong to you. Release it, and you may live. Rai didn't reply. He turned the radio off. No chance. He had already made his choice. He would protect the child no matter what. The second enemy ship moved above Rai's. He dropped lower, weaving under a floating chunk of ice, then pulled up hard. His ship grazed a rock. Sparks flew across the hull, but he kept control. The second ship fired again. Rai twisted just in time. The laser hit a smaller asteroid behind him. A flash of red fire. The last enemy ship tried to outflank him. Fast, smart, but not smarter than Rai. He flew straight toward a large spinning rock at full speed. Then at the last second he turned upward sharply. The enemy followed, but too late. The red ship crashed into the spinning rock. A burst of light, a trail of smoke. Gone. Rai flew clear of the field, heart pounding, breath shallow. He had escaped for now. He looked at the child again. His glow had faded. His eyes tired. He leaned against the seat and closed his eyes like he hadn't slept in days. Rai didn't know what this child was capable of, but he was more than just a survivor, more than just an orphan. His AI spoke. Destination reached planet Runa 6, hidden colony. Confirmed location. Rai nodded. They needed a place to hide, rest, refuel, and maybe find answers. He landed the ship on a small green moon. Trees and rivers filled the land. It was peaceful, quiet. He carried the child in his arms and walked into the old colony, a hidden place built into the rocks. Abandoned but safe inside. An old medic bot activated. Welcome, Captain. Identification not found. How may I assist? Rai laid the child on a soft bed. Find food, water, heat. He needs help. The bot scanned the child and paused. Warning, subject is not fully biological. Identity unknown. Rai narrowed his eyes. Explain. The bot replied slowly. The child's body is mixed, contains ancient tech, energy levels, unstable, signs of genetic tampering. What does that mean? Rai asked. The bot looked at the child again. It means this child was made or changed by something powerful, very powerful. Rai stood beside the bed, watching the small chest rise and fall. He had seen many things in space, pirates, wars, lost planets, but never anything like this. This child was a target, a secret, a danger, and somehow now he was also Rai's responsibility. Outside, far in the stars, more ships moved toward them, silent and deadly. The hunt was not over. It had only just begun. The sky above Runa 6 glowed soft blue as the sun rose slowly over the trees. The morning was quiet, but Rai was not asleep. He sat near the entrance of the old colony, his eyes fixed on the ship parked in the shadows inside the small cave. The alien child lay still, wrapped in a warm blanket. His chest rose and fell gently, his face calm, but his hands moved slowly in his sleep, like he was dreaming something deep and strange. Rai had questions, too many questions. He had seen the child do something in the asteroid field, something impossible. He had seen the way the rocks moved, like they were alive or controlled, like the child was pulling strings in space. He rubbed his forehead. He was no scientist. He was a pilot, a smuggler, a survivor. This was not his world, but somehow it had become his fight behind him. The medic bot whirred to life again. It had been scanning the child all night. The bot spoke in a low mechanical voice. Update. Subject stable, brain activity above normal, strange energy signatures still detected. The child may wake soon. Rai nodded but didn't reply. He looked at the child again, watched the soft glow under his skin. It was not just color, it moved like light flowing through his veins. Then the child's eyes opened. Sound, just those large bright eyes staring right at Rai. No fear, no confusion, just silence and something else, something heavy. Rai stepped closer. Hey kid, he said softly, you all right? The child sat up slowly, his hand reached toward Rai's face and then stopped, like asking permission. Rai gave a short nod. The child touched his forehead and everything changed. In an instant, Rai was no longer in the cave. He saw fire. He saw ships burning across the stars. He saw tall buildings falling. He saw a group of strange tall beings with glowing skin and eyes like suns. They were fighting, running, hiding. One of them held a baby, a small, soft blue baby with wide eyes. That baby was the child. Then a dark shadow, a massive ship, a flash of red and silence. Rai fell back, gasping for air. He grabbed his head and blinked fast as the vision faded. What the hell was that? The child looked down like he was sorry. The medic bot beeped. Emotion detected, fear, confusion, brain link confirmed. The child shared a stood slowly, trying to calm his breath. So you're the last one, the last of your kind. The child nodded, then looked away. Rai crouched beside him. You're not just a kid, are you? You're something more. The child's glow faded slightly. He looked weak. Again the bot spoke again, based on new readings. Subject is not fully organic. Life signs match ancient species called Orphan, extinct over 100 years. Rai had heard stories of the Orphan, a peaceful race, wise, powerful, connected to energy and stars. They were wiped out by someone long ago. No one knew how or why, but now one of them sat in front of him, small, alone, and hunted. The bot added, One more detail: unknown signal detected, nearby movement in the forest, lifeform approaching. Rai was alert. In seconds he pulled out his blaster and checked the screen outside. In the trees something moved slowly, carefully. A shadow walked between the trees. Rai moved out of the cave, silently, eyes sharp, finger ready. The figure stepped into the light, a tall human wearing old armor, scratched and dirty but strong. His face was half hidden under a helmet, but Rai recognized the symbol on his chest. A bounty hunter. Rai pointed his blaster. What do you want? The hunter raised his hands. I come in peace, just want to talk, not here to kill. Rai didn't trust him. He never trusted hunters. Following the signal, right? Rai said. You know about the kid? The hunter nodded slowly. Not just know. I've seen him before, many years ago. I worked with the Oralists, fought beside them before they were destroyed. Rai kept his weapon up. Then why are you here? The hunter looked serious. Because the ones who destroyed his people are coming again, and if that child awakens fully, without training, without control, that could be the reason they return. Rai's eyes narrowed. What are you saying? The hunter stepped forward, lowering his voice. I'm saying he's not just the last of his kind. He's a key, a beacon. If he sends the wrong signal, they will find him, and they will finish what they started. Inside the cave, the child looked outside through the shadows, listening. The medic bot stood beside him, softly glowing. The child's hand shook slightly as a strange energy flowed through his fingers. He had heard everything. He had seen this man in dreams before, and in those dreams fire always followed. The sun dipped low on Runa 6, turning the trees gold and the shadows long. Rai stood at the edge of the clearing, eyes locked on the bounty hunter who claimed to know the truth. His blaster stayed raised, but his hand was no longer steady. The hunter's voice was calm yet firm. I did not come to take the child. I came to warn you. I was there when his world burned. I saw who did it, and I know they are still searching. Rai looked back toward the cave where the child waited, wrapped in silence, glowing softly in the dark. He had already made up his mind. He would not hand the child over, not to anyone. You need to leave, Rai said, voice low and tight. No tricks, no lies, just go. The hunter hesitated, then nodded slowly. I will go, but listen well. You are not just protecting a child, you are guarding a spark. If it grows uncontrolled, it can light a fire across stars or burn everything down. Then he turned and walked back into the trees, disappearing like he was never there. Rai lowered his weapon slowly and exhaled. His heart still beat hard in his chest, not from fear but from something else. Something heavier. Back inside the cave, the child sat, quiet, eyes fixed on the sky. His face was unreadable, but his glow was dimmer than before. Rai knelt beside him, unsure what to say. He had never been a father, never stayed in one place, never carried anything but cargo and guilt. But now he felt something different, like he was standing at the edge of a choice that would change everything. He placed a small packet of food in the child's hands. Eat, kid, you need your strength. The child took the packet and ate slowly, not looking up. His fingers trembled and his eyes stayed locked on the stars above. Rai looked around the old colony built into the rock's walls, cracked metal, rusted terminals, dead. It had once been a home, a place of warmth and voices. Now only ghosts lived here, but maybe it could be more. Again the medic bot rolled forward quietly, carrying a small device. It stopped beside Rai and spoke softly. Vital signs remain stable, however the child's energy is fluctuating. Untrained emotional surges may cause harm. Rai rubbed his chin, thinking hard. There must be someone out there, someone who can help. He walked to an old terminal and connected his wrist device to the port. Static flickered, then a weak signal came through. He opened a private channel and waited. After a long pause, a voice answered, husky and surprised. Rai, Commander, I thought you were dead. Rai gave a small grin. Not yet. I need a favor. I'm sending coordinates. I need you to come here quietly and fast. Bring the old crew if you can. I found something or someone who needs help. The voice replied, this about the Oralist rumor we heard years ago. It's not a rumor anymore, Rai said. Just come. He closed the connection inside. Old friends, old enemies. They were the same people in his world that night. The wind moved through the trees like a whisper. The stars burned brighter than usual. Rai sat beside the child again, not saying much. He handed him a small piece of metal. A charm from his old flight badge. Keep it. He said it kept me alive for years. Maybe it'll work for youth. Child held it gently and for the first time gave a small smile. It was weak and short, but it was real. Something shifted in Rai's chest, something warm, something painful maybe. He was changing too, but peace never lasted long in the black. Next morning, the medic bot beeped urgently. Motion detected. 10 clicks. East ships landing. No ID tags. No response to hails. Rai jumped to his feet and grabbed his gear. They found us faster than I thought. He ran to the ship, started pre-flight checks. Then turned to the child. You trust me? The child nodded slowly. Good. Then stay close and hold on. As the engines roared to life, explosions lit the sky in the distance. Red ships, red lights, red danger. The old colony shook as enemy craft approached fast. Lifted the ship into the sky, trees bending from the force of the blast beneath them. They were flying again, but this time something had changed. The child did not hide. He stood beside Rai, hands glowing, steady, not shaking, not afraid. The signal was no longer hidden. The hunters would come from every system now, but so would helping the dark beyond stars. Something new was forming. Not just a mission, not just survival, a family, one born not of blood but of choice, one that would fight together, burn together, fly together, and never back down. Far beyond the safe zones of any known planet, Rai's ship drifted quietly through a nebula of blue and gold gas. His eyes were fixed on the swirling patterns outside, but his thoughts were somewhere else. Deep inside, he knew the peace would not last. Beside him, the alien child, now named Nuo, sat still but alert. His hands glowed faintly even when he was calm, and his silence now felt more like focus than fear. It had been 3 days since they escaped the enemy ships on Runa 6, and Rai had not slept more than a few hours. Something was changing in Nuo, and Rai could feel it in the air, in the walls, in his bones. Ship's AI voice broke the silence. Navigation complete. Arrival at destination confirmed. Coordinates match. Forbidden zone. Grid Delta 12. Rai stood and walked toward the back of the ship where Nuo was already looking through a small round window. His eyes were wide, not with curiosity but with memory. This place? Rai asked. You know it. Nuo nodded slowly and raised his hand to the glass. A soft hum vibrated through the ship. Outside, a ruined space station floated in silence, its metal skeleton broken, its lights long dead. But around it strange energy pulsed like breath from something that should not be alive. AI spoke again. Structure identified. Name origins. Reach banned by galactic law. Last visited 90 years ago. Rai muttered under his breath. Of course it's illegal. They docked gently and stepped inside the old station walls covered in dust echoes of voices that no longer lived, lights flickering one by one as they passed. Like the place itself recognized. Nuo reached a sealed door at the center. Rai placed his hand on the panel. Nothing happened. Then Nuo stepped forward. His hand touched the metal. A wave of light spread out, and the door opened with a low, deep sound, like an ancient machine waking from sleep. Inside was a chamber of mirrors, and stone symbols floated in the air, strange writing glowing without any source. Nuo walked to the center and sat. His body began to rise slightly, his eyes glowing like twin moons. His voice spoke for the first time, clear and strong, but not in any known language. The walls answered, lights shifted, colors changed. A vision appeared in the Rai stepped back, stunned. He saw a great hall, a throne of stars, a council of glowing beings, all auraless, all with the same light as Nuo, but older and stronger than fire. Came ships from the black rains of metal, screams, echoes of fear and betrayal. One by one the lights of the auralist faded until only one remained, a baby hidden in a pod sent across the stars. Rai's hands clenched into fists. That was no war, that was a massacre. The vision changed again. He saw Nuo growing up in secret, watched by machines, tested by strangers, a failed experiment. No, not failed, a survivor. Then the image faded and Nuo dropped gently to the floor, his face pale, his eyes tired. The Memecbot beeped. Energy output extreme, heart rate elevated. Subject requires rest. Knelt beside him carefully. You showed me your truth, now tell me what you need. Nuo whispered his first words in Rai's language. I need a guide, not a guard, not a warrior, someone who sees me, not just what I can do. Rai placed his hand on Nuo's shoulder. Then you got one kid. He looked back at the chamber, then around at the symbols and floating lights. The auralists didn't die. They were hunted because of what they could become, weapons or protectors. The ship alarm suddenly rang again. Signal detected. Incoming vessel, high-speed approach. Rai stood instantly, eyes sharp. Let's move back. In the cockpit, the screen showed a large ship heading their way. No ID, no flag, but Rai knew that design. Dark armor, sharp wings, silent like a shadow. He turned to Nuo and the Medicbot. Time to leave this place. They flew fast through the nebula, rays of light passing their hull like glowing rivers. Behind them the enemy ship followed, steady and cold. Inside the cockpit, Nuo reached out toward the radar. His fingers glowed brighter than before. Then suddenly every navigation system lit up. 3 paths appeared ahead, each more dangerous than the last. The AI spoke. Cannot compute recommendation. All routes unstable. Rai looked at Nuo. You showing me a way? Nuo nodded. Slowly, one safe, one end, one trap. Rai chose the middle and pushed the engines full. The ship raced into a narrow tunnel of floating rocks and thick gas. Every second was risk, every move a choice. Behind them the enemy fired bright beams slicing through gas clouds. Rai turned hard, dodging each shot by a whisper of space. His teeth clenched, his heart beat steady. Ahead, the rocks opened and stars returned. Behind them, no sign of the enemy, not destroyed but lost for now. They had escaped again, but this time with a new truth. Nuo was not just a child, he was the last hope of something ancient and powerful, and now Rai was part of that hope, whether he was ready or not. The stars above burned like silent watchers as Rai's ship hovered near the edge of a forgotten planet. The engines pulsed quietly, the hull marked with scrapes and smoke, lines from close calls and violent escapes. Inside the cockpit, the air was heavy, not with danger but with decision. Rai stood at the map table, eyes locked on the red markers blinking across the galaxy. One by one they lit up like fire spreading across dry leaves. There were signals, Empire ships, patrol zones, listening towers, the entire network of control. He leaned back, rubbing his eyes. It was only a matter of time before they found them again. Behind him, Nuo stood silent, glowing just enough to light the room. His hands were still, his face unreadable, but Rai had learned to see the signs. He could feel the pressure building inside the boy, not just power, but pain, the weight of memory, the fear of what he might become. We need help, Rai said finally. We cannot outrun them forever. The Medicbot word, quietly standing near the door. Probability of long-term survival without allies below 10%. Rai, who opened an encrypted channel. His fingers moved fast across the controls. 1, Hour later, 3 ships appeared in orbit. One was old and rusted, the second patched with wires and dents, but the third smooth, fast and deadly. A ship Rye knew too well. His crew had arrived. They landed together in the valley below tall cliffs, hiding them from scanners. The ground was red and dry, wind carrying dust like whispers. Rye stepped out first, Nuo beside him. The others followed, a short woman with cybernetic arms, a large man with metal plates in his skin, and a small droid that floated in silence with glowing red eyes. The woman grinned. Rye, you finally called us. Thought you'd gone soft. Try smiled just a little. Good to see you too, Lysaith. Big man gave a deep laugh and nodded to Nuo. This, the kid you mentioned. Nidnu looked up at him, not afraid, just curious, his glow steady. But Lorai waved him toward a large rock where they could plan. What I'm about to tell you will make you targets, but I need you two here. I told them everything about the Orlis, about the Empire, about the visions and the station and the warnings, about Nuo being more than a child, about the fire that once nearly ended a galaxy and now might save it. There was silence. When he finished, only the wind speaking. Then Lysa cracked her knuckles and smiled again. You had me at ancient space magic and angry empires. I'm in. The others nodded. No questions, no doubts. The plan was simple and insane. The Empire had a central core called the IA, massive satellite where data flowed in and out every second. It controlled trackers, bounty systems, patrol routes. If they could reach it and plant a virus, they could vanish from the grid for good, and maybe even slow the Empire down. But it was guarded by 3 destroyers and an entire ring of defense drones. No one had touched it in 20 years. Perfect, Rye said with a grin. The team moved fast, assembling weapons, loading gear, checking the ship one last time. Nuo stood at the front near the window, watching stars pass in silence, his fingers twitching with soft light. He turned to Rye quietly. I will help. Rye nodded. I know. They reached the edge of the eye. In 20 hours the station was huge, spinning slowly like a monster. Asleep, its lights blinked in rhythm like breathing. Enemy ships moved around it in perfect circles, cold machines following perfect orders. Rye's ship stayed hidden behind a chunk of rock, moving in slow bursts like a shadow. Then they launched 3 small pods, shot forward, dodging laser nets, sliding past sensors. Each pod carried one purpose: Lysa to break the codron, to hold the line, Rye and Nuo to reach the core. Inside the halls of the eye, white lights and silver walls echoed with silence. Rye moved fast, blaster ready, Nuo behind him, glowing brighter with each step. Drones appeared. Rye fired without hesitation, metal crashing to the floor. Sparks filled the air. Smoke followed them like ghosts. They reached the core chamber, a huge room filled with crystal towers, or humming with data streams. Lysa's voice came through the I'm implanting virus now. Outside, Draught roared as he held back wave after wave of security bots, his armor cracking but his will like iron. Inside, Nuo stepped forward and raised his hands. The light from his body reached every surface, every wire, every tower. The system pulsed, then stuttered, then screamed. Alarms flared across the station, but it was too late. The virus moved like lightning, shutting down scans, erasing files, bending code. Rye grabbed Nuo as the room shook. Time to go. They ran through collapsing corridors, sparks raining like fire outside. The ship waited, engines burning hot. Doors opened. They jumped in just as the eye began to fall into blackout. Systems crashing one by one behind them. The Empire stared into darkness. They had done it not one, not yet, but hit back. And now across stars a small light burned brighter than ever. The galaxy was quiet for the first time in weeks. The eye had fallen into silence, and with it the Empire's grip loosened across dozens of systems. Signals went dark, searchlights faded, patrols slowed like machines, confused without command. Sat in the cockpit, eyes heavy from sleepless nights, hands resting on the controls. Outside, the stars stretched endless and bright, each one a path, each one a memory behind him. Nuo stood taller than before, not in size but in presence. His glow was calm now, controlled his steps, quiet and sure. He no longer hid behind shadows or fear. The crew was resting in the back of the ship. Each of them had fought like legends and survived together. Now they waited for the next choice, the next direction. The next. Nuo placed his hand on the screen and a soft hum filled the room. Rye turned and looked at him. What are you doing, kid? Nuo spoke gently. I saw a place, a world not marked on any map, a place the Oralist once called home. Rye leaned closer. You sure it exists? Yes, Nuo replied. It called me in my dreams. It calls still. The ship changed course, guided not by the AI but by Nuo's silent connection, a path through dead stars and broken systems, through fields of magnetic storms and gravity. Traps that would crush ordinary ships. But this was no ordinary journey, and Rye was no ordinary pilot. They reached it after 2 long days. A planet hidden behind a curtain of dust rings and energy pulses. It shimmered like a secret waiting to be stepped forward, eyes wide. That is not on any chart, not even the illegal ones. The planet was green with silver mountains and oceans that glowed at night. Clouds swirled in patterns like ancient writing. The ship landed gently in a valley filled with tall trees and glowing stones. As they stepped out, the air was warm and filled with soft sounds, not animals, not machines, something in between, like music from the ground itself. Nu walked ahead slowly, then stopped and touched the earth from the ground. A light spread in all directions, like roots waking up, like memories returning subtly. Ancient structures rose from the soil, towers and halls made of crystal and stone, walls covered in symbols that matched Nuo's skin. The crew watched in silence as the city rebuilt itself from the past. Rai stood at the center looking around. This was never just about survival, was it? This was about return. You turned to him. This is home, not just mine, yours too if you wish. Rai felt something shift inside, something deep and old, something that had waited a long time to be seen. He remembered his own past, the battles, the loss, the lonely years between stars, and now here in a place thought lost to time, he felt peace. They spent the next few days exploring the city. Every step revealed more: a library filled with living data, a garden where the plants sang when touched, a hall of memories where the walls played stories with light. Nu grew stronger with each hour, not just in power but in understanding. He was not a weapon, not a target, not a symbol. He was a child growing into his own name, his own path. One evening under the twin moons, Rai sat with him on a stone ledge watching the sky. He handed Nuo a small tool from his pilot kit. This used to be part of my first ship, saved my life once, thought you might want it. No smiled and placed it beside the charm Rai had given him days ago, back when they first escaped together. You saved me, to know said quietly. Not just my life, my story. Rai looked at the stars and saw them differently for the first time in years, not as empty, not as cold, but as roads waiting to be flown with someone beside him. Listener joined them, her arms crossed, eyes sharp. So what now? Captain Rai looked at Nuo, then at the glowing city, then at the stars. Now we build a future, not just for us but for anyone. The Empire tried to erase his hand, and a beacon lit the sky, a soft signal, not of war, not of warning, but of welcome. Across galaxies lost voices would hear it, survivors, wanderers, the forgotten, and one by one they would come, not to follow, not to fight, but to live, to belong. Because family was never about blood, it was about those who chose to stand beside you when no one else would. It was about those who flew with you through the darkest night and stayed until the morning came.